Good morning and welcome to the City Center Community Committee for Tuesday, January 28th. I'm Sherry Rollins. With me is Councillor Gilroy and Clerk Leah Cowan. I want to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Innu, Anishinaabe, and Cree, and in the homeland of the Red River Métis, where we get our water from Shoal Lake 40 and Treaty 3 territory. I want to also set this agenda up. And first off is a notice of absence for Councillor Orlico. So moved by Councillor Gilroy. Mm-hmm. That was carried unanimously. We need a motion for the minutes from last City Center Committee. So moved by Councillor Gilroy. Mm-hmm. That too was carried unanimously. And we'll get into our reports.
And you're acting as chairperson for this meeting, Councillor?
Yes, so moved by Councillor Gilroy, and I accept, so that was also carried. Thank you.
Okay. So the first up is my item, per capita grant. If I can lay this matter over, I haven't had time, and I apologize. I've been sick, so I haven't really. This is more than what we've given in the past, and this grant's pretty small. So, yeah, if I could just lay this matter over for another month.
Sure, to the February 24th meeting?
Yeah.
So moved by Councillor Gilroy. That was carried unanimously. Moving on to the PCG, Keystone Rainbow Curling League. Councillor Gilroy, do you want to move the whole kit and caboodle?
Sure.
So moved. That was carried unanimously. And look forward to seeing the Keystone Rainbow Curling League in action at the Granite Curling Club. We'll take a brief pause to the 10:30 hearing, and we'll resume for the hearing at 10:30. Thank you. Welcome back to the City Center Community Committee, our regular meeting agenda for January 28th. We're entering the hearings portion of the agenda. First up is the zoning agreement amendment at 555 Spence Street. I'll move it over to Leah Cowan.
In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item 1 is a zoning agreement amendment at 555 Spence Street under file ZAA 13 of 2024. And you would like a brief overview of the application?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So the subject site is located on the east side of Spence Street, 2 properties north of Sargent Ave in the Spence neighborhood of the Daniel McIntyre ward. The site is 7,108 square feet in area and is currently vacant. It's located within an established neighborhood mature community under the Complete Communities Direction Strategy 2.0, and the property is currently zoned C2 Commercial Community. It is also located within an area covered by the Neighborhood Main Streets PDO within the Winnipeg zoning bylaw. The immediate area is characterized primarily by single and 2-family residential to the north, with commercial buildings to the south along Sargent Ave. The applicant is seeking to build a 2-story social service facility. The previous 1-story building was demolished in 2024. The proposed building features a clothing depot, warehouse, several offices, and shared spaces, including a kitchen, classroom, and playroom. The applicant is proposing 6 parking stalls located to the north and east sides of the site, fronting the public lane. 9 indoor bicycle stalls are shown on the building plans and will be provided as an additional parking option for staff and individuals accessing the facility. The property is zoned C2. However, a caveat on the title currently limits land uses on the site and caps the building height at 1 story. The subject zoning agreement amendment application has been submitted to request removal of these caveats. The Urban Planning and Design Division is recommending that the existing zoning agreement be discharged, subject to the condition that the owner of the land enter into a new zoning agreement with the city. A new zoning agreement would remove restrictions on land use, increase the allowable building height from 1 story to 45 feet, add a restriction on digital signage, and include a plan approval clause. The development also requires variances for parking amendments, which are contingent on the coming into force and effect of this zoning amendment application. The applicant did engage with our division for preliminary discussions prior to making their application. So we recommend that the zoning agreement be replaced because the proposal for a 2-story social service facility in this location aligns with Complete Communities 2.0. Development will have similar physical characteristics to existing commercial buildings along Sargent Avenue, and the modest proposed height of 28 feet with a caveated cap of 45 feet respects the existing low-density residential development to the north along Spence Street. And replacing the zoning agreement will enable the subject property to develop in alignment with established C2 zoning rights and in a fashion consistent with other C2 zone properties in the area, while protecting the character of residential properties to the north by placing limited restrictions on the subject property. Thank you.
Any questions at this juncture? If not, we'll move on.
Okay, so first we'll hear from the applicant, Paige Lloyd, in support of the application, and Paige is with us in person today.
Good morning, Ms. Lloyd. You can join us at the table and you'll have 2 minutes with the committee when you're ready. If you have a presentation, let us know. You do not require one.
No presentation.
Okay.
I'll keep this short and sweet because that summary covered pretty much everything that I had to say. It's lower density than the amendment would allow. The facility is very much the same facility that was there prior to this application, with some minor modifications to help them grow to serve the needs of the community better. I'm here to answer any other questions that you might have about this application.
Just out of curiosity, just because it could, you could go to higher density in this location. And I know Thrive does a lot of working with many different community members. And would the application allow for any future development on the site? Like, could you be able to build higher? If it, like, are you going to plan it so you could build higher maybe eventually?
No. It's planned for the immediate need and some modest growth.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing further, we'll move on.
Okay, so we don't have anyone else registered to speak to this application. Just confirming there's no one else in the gallery looking to speak to this matter. Are you?
Did register.
Okay, well, we'll just get your name. We'll get you registered and then.
Oh, I don't have your registration,
No,
so we'll just need you to.
registered, Ms. Wagner, and then we'll have you come up for 10 minutes. No problem. Are you?
Need you to complete the registration form.
Yeah, no problem. We can do it now. So Ms. Cowan's just gonna get your registration and then we'll be right over to you. We always check in the gallery, so it's all working like it should.
Sorry, this is that one's for Keys. Just your name, address, and email address, and then your order. Great, thank you. My address or the address? Your address, yeah. Cute. And you're in support of the application?
I am.
Date and signature and
Thank you.
Sorry, I deleted.
Sorry, I have very bad arthritis in my hands. There, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
All right, you have 10 minutes with committee and welcome Ms. Widener.
Thank you. I'm the chair of the Thrive Community Support Circle, and I'm obviously in support of the building. I just wanted to share that we did extensive community consultation to determine what would meet the needs of the community that we serve in that area and also outside of that area as well. And I'm very confident with what has been put together in terms of meeting the community needs. I can't speak obviously to variances and those sorts of things, but I just wanted to let you know that the planning was not done on a whim. It certainly took a lot of things into consideration, including meeting with government ministers and people just walking by on the street as well. That's all I wanted to share.
Well, perfect. Are there any questions for Ms. Wagner?
I know, thank you for all your work. I know that you've done some great work trying to raise
you.
the funds and how hard it is to get projects like this on the ground. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so just confirming there's no one else in the gallery looking to speak in support, in opposition to, or with respect to this application?
We'll move into motions if we're
Yeah.
ready.
If there are any
Or-
questions for the public service, or technically the applicant has the opportunity to
To rebut.
rebut if you wish, but no need. Okay.
Some really good things were put on the record that you might want to respond to.
Sorry, I just gotta find my spot here. Give me a second. This is moving a little too fast for me. Oh,
I can give you the chair too if you want.
okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right, I'll try to do this with my mask on here.
I know.
Okay, I move that the Winnipeg Public Service be, sorry,
Taken as read.
yeah,
That was carried unanimously.
okay. And that report of the public service be taken, the receipt of, public representations be concluded.
That was also carried unanimously.
That the recommendations of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and forwarded to the standing policy, actually executive policy committee via priority rezoning process. And my supporting reasons are Thrive is a really great community asset. They do so much great work in the community. They're busting at the seams. They were before. They still are in Knox United Church where they're working out of right now. But everyone's really excited and I want to thank them. They did come to me with this proposal first so I could have the opportunity to see what was going on and really understand the projects and their needs. So lots of great work. And they did do really a lot of extensive community outreach on this, which I really appreciated. So a lot of great work, I think, from the community on this Thrive and of course our administration. Okay.
Thank you very much. If I could echo some of the supporting reasons, and then I'll call the question. There is no question that Councillor Gilroy is correct in her analysis of the public support. Everyone, from the Labor Council has gathered around, I think, Thrive and the capital campaign. And so really good news that there's momentum. So moved by Councillor Gilroy, and that was also carried unanimously.
And that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
And that was carried unanimously.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted and all persons registered for the hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
We'll move to the matter pertaining to 701 Ellis Avenue. It's a combined hearing for rezoning and conditional use and a variance.
Item 2 is a rezoning at 701 Ellis Avenue under file DAZ 218 of 2024 in accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw. This is a combined hearing and the following items will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 3 is a conditional use at 701 Ellis Avenue under file DCU 224725 of 2024D. Item 4 is a variance under file DAB 224481 of 2024D. Please note additional communications were received in support of and in opposition to the matter, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. like a brief overview from the public service.
Yes, we need an overview from public service, please.
Good morning, committee. The subject property is located on the corner of Ellis Avenue and Victor Street in the Daniel McIntyre neighborhood of the Daniel McIntyre ward. The subject site is just under 10,000 square feet and is currently vacant. Under Complete Communities 2.0, the site is designated as urban mixed-use corridor. The property is currently split zone C2 and R2. The applicant seeks to rezone the land to CMU, that's commercial mixed use, in order to establish a mixed-use building with commercial on the ground floor and a combination of hotel rooms and residential units on upper floors. Floor 1 will contain 2 retail units. Floors 2 to 4 will contain 36 hotel rooms, and floors 5 and 6 will contain 14 residential units. The proposal requires a conditional use of a hotel component, variances for yards, height, density, floor area ratio, parking, and landscaping. The proposal includes 17 parking stalls, 14 stalls of indoor bike parking, and a car share vehicle. Through the planning process with the division, the applicant agreed to take all vehicular access from the laneway, move the building south to help reduce shading on the north adjacent property, provide a car share vehicle and bike storage, provide landscaping between the building and Ellis Avenue, and finally screen the parking area from Victor through a combination of decorative fencing and or landscaping. These are minor details that we plan to deal with at plan approval. The Urban Planning Division supports the rezoning conditional use and the variances because CMU is an ideal district for mixed use corridors, especially where the predominant use of the building is commercial. A 6-story building is appropriate in this location given Complete Communities 2.0 policies that support mid-rise on arterial streets. Complete Communities 2.0 also supports commercial amenities, including retail and hotel on urban mixed-use corridors. And finally, the variances are common for properties located on urban mixed-use corridors in mature communities. Thank you.
Anything, Counselor?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a few questions
Yeah.
before we get started. Just because this is the first time I've ever experienced a hotel,
Okay.
with a residential and mixed use. So what do we do in these cases? Like what, for example, is there kind of a business aspect that they have to apply for businesses, like business licensing for a hotel under this? I know that I don't know if that really reflects what I'm asking, but what makes this, I get, like a hotel is a little bit different than a residential for the rezoning. And how are we gonna be ensuring its use, I guess?
Well, you're right that we deal with the land use, so I'm not really all that familiar with what's required once it passes the land use approval for establishing the hotel as a business within the building. It definitely is classified under zoning as a hotel. And it has a separate operation than the multifamily units will. The details of that, I don't personally know. The applicant may know more than I do on that.
So for us, it's just literally the zoning. And what would be allowed on this spot if it wasn't for the hotel rezoning? It would be allowed to have residential on the spot, right? Multi-use.
Could you just repeat that? If it weren't for the hotel, how much residential or?
Yeah,
Do you mean like the existing property rights?
Yeah.
What would be the status quo, the density, et cetera?
yeah.
Okay. In terms of the current status quo, what would be allowed?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tricky one here because it's split zoned, but if we imagine that the whole thing were C2, then you could do like up to a medium density and then a 10% density variance, which would work out to for you in terms of number of units. Just give me 1 second here. Could do 14 dwelling units, but because the applicant is rezoning to commercial mixed use, there is a higher density permitted.
Okay, so the hotel actually allows for higher density than what it would be.
Yeah,
permitted
yeah,
under,
the zoning
okay.
does. And zoning also allows for a mix of different uses within one building. So that's exactly why we have districts like CMU. So you can do that in one building.
Okay. I guess most of my questions might be more for them, really.
So there's no further questions. We'll move on to the applicant.
So the applicant, Daniel Sturhall, joining us via Zoom today.
Good morning, Mr. Sirhall. You're with the committee. You have 10 minutes.
Good morning, counselors. Sorry I had to appear by Zoom today. I normally like to be there in person, but I don't know, it's January and I got whatever's going on.
Apologize. Zoom is lets democracy happen. So
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Indeed. Okay, so so this property in question is a site that previously had I think it was a 1-story retail building that burned down several years ago, and it sat derelict for quite some time. And so, we're just looking to try and bring new life to this intersection, and in particular along Ellis. It would benefit from more commercial activity and more residents. And so we've designed a building that stays as far away from. We really only have one neighbor, which is the neighbor to the north. So we've respected the 45-degree angle plane from the north, and we pulled the whole building away from the north, and put up fencing and landscaping so that we can play nice with the neighbor, but also in turn address the street frontage with some kind of active main floor, with some businesses on the main floor, and keeping the hotel and the dwelling units upstairs. As Andrew mentioned, it's 6 stories is appropriate for on a corridor such as Ellis, and we're just trying to bring some new life to what is otherwise a derelict brownfield site. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't have any material beyond the plans that are before you. I think it's relatively self-explanatory, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, hopefully you can answer. I mean, this is I'm excited to see some development on this site. First off, but I guess my questions are around the hotel aspect, trying to wrap my head around what that could look like.
Sure.
So it's a digital hotel, so this is kind of my first time experiencing the concept where it's a hotel and residential units. And I guess I've had issues with Airbnbs in my area, so I just want to ask questions around what does this hotel concept look like? Who are you expecting to be customers? That kind of thing.
Sure. So, I mean, it's so we call it clerkless hotel. We have our own software that we use to manage it, and that we're developing. We have another property in Bridgewater that is on track to be opened later this year that follows a very similar model. And the idea is that it is a conventional hotel. So, but all your booking is done online. You have an app on your phone, and use the app on your phone to unlock your room and to check in and check out. And then cleaning and other services happen after you're gone, and then the unit is made available again. So it's not a Hilton, right? It's not a Super 8. It's these units would just be available online, and then people that want to stay in the area can just book a unit. And it's not really anything more complicated than that.
Okay. So just in terms of, is there another process that you're going to have to go through other than zoning? I know that for a hotel, like we're here to talk about the zoning, but I just curious about other processes you'll have to follow in terms of getting licensing and stuff.
Yeah, there will be the normal processes that I would have to follow. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and again, I'll be returning with, plan approval, as Andrew mentioned, when we start dealing with some of the more fine details of the design.
Did the owners really talk about who they're hoping, the concept of people that would be coming into the inner city to stay, and
these kinds of buildings are always for that neighborhood. That's the idea, right? So you're pulling from the neighborhood. This is not you know, if somebody in the neighborhood has relatives that, you know, need a place to stay, or, you know, there's somebody in the neighborhood that just needs something for a short term because they're traveling, or they're, you know, they moved out of their old place and the new place isn't ready yet, you know, those kinds of things. This is, I mean, there are only 36 units, right? This is not, you know, this is not a big hotel. The idea is that, you know, we're just servicing the immediate neighborhood.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It is unusual, Mr. Sirhall, if I may ask, Kristen, that we get a report before us and say that the applicant was asked to provide details regarding the digitally managed hotel concept, including the target market and approximate length of stay. And in the report on page 10, you'll be familiar that the public service then writes, the applicant indicates that it's open to all and that the duration of stay will be variable. And then the specifics on how it is managed, the applicant indicates that access is through a digital app, just like you explained. Services including staff or offsite, and the applicant indicates that the concept is similar to a project the applicant is building, and you mentioned it, the Bridgewater Town Center. Typically, when we get an application, it doesn't go into the business model and the operations. Do you have thoughts about that? You've been here before. Do you have thoughts about that? Do you?
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to be an obstacle to, you know, to anybody's inquiries. I do want to be, you know, as transparent as I can be. We're talking about something that, you know, is clearly at its infancy. You know, we're having this conversation today. The land is empty. It's not going to be this functioning thing for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. So I'm doing my best to sort of look down the line and say, hey, folks, you know, this is what's going to happen 3 years from now. And so, you know, that's why I be as candid as I can and as transparent as I can. And I understand it is a little bit of a curious animal. But you know, I think this kind of product serves a great need, especially in established communities. You know, it's a bit of it's a mixed use project. And I don't know if you've driven by this site. You know, I really feel like, you know, putting this project in this location is fixing a blight. It's really a sad corner. So I'm just happy that we're able to do it.
I think that is, you know, an important point. You know, currently the land is vacant. Do you have, you know, thoughts on your experience of the department is directed to encourage the, you know, obviously the land use goals that's in complete communities, including corridor sites. And specifically, do you have thoughts that you haven't mentioned already with respect to this 6-story building and the appropriateness of the location?
Well, I mean, I look at streets like on Ellis, right? And I think that, you know, I think 6 stories is fine. I think 8 stories would have been fine. You know, I think that from me as somebody that experiences, you know, that walks down the street or whatever on Ellis, I don't think I would feel the difference between 6 or 8 stories. I think the things that I feel when I walk down the street are, you know, are the entrances to the business right off the sidewalk? Is there a little bit of landscaping to sort of liven up that edge between private and public? You know, do I feel like there are real live people in windows, you know, overlooking the street? I think those are all good things, and I try and include all those things. And so, yeah, you know, for me, the only reason this thing isn't bigger and it's not 8 stories is that we were really limited by that 45-degree plane from the property to the north, or I would have made it, you know, 30% bigger.
There's another question from Councillor Gilroy. I have just one more, if she doesn't mind, on the conditional use. So generally speaking, I don't like conditional uses. Right in the next, you know, section of the hearing, conditional use, there's pieces that I feel are in part like inherently contradictory. Can you give me your thoughts? You know, you mentioned and you got into the 6-story building I'm a counselor that moved to 8 stories in Osborne Village for similar reasons you're saying. But in the conditional use in the hotel, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know what, that was a little caught off guard by that, frankly. And my understanding, and maybe Andrew can better answer this, is that it's a conditional use hotel, not because it's in CMU, but because there's some kind of area plan. Is that right, Andrew?
So I will ask him the same exact question. So that's a good heads up for Andrew.
Okay, that's fine.
But same. So you essentially answered my question. That's for the planner to consider with us. But if you have any further thoughts, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, to me, a hotel is a permitted use in CMU. It's a hotel would be a permitted use on C2. Like the only reason that actually what happened is that the only reason that I'm rezoning, because when I bought the property, I thought it was all C2. And there's this curious thing in this piece of land where I think it's the northerly 25 feet. Even though it's all one title, the northerly 25 feet was zoned something else. And I was stuck having to go through this process. Otherwise, I would have just left it all C2 and built the building. I would have needed some yard variances or something. I actually really resisted this rezoning process because it added like 5 months to my process and much cost.
Yeah. Okay, to the local councilor now, privileging her voice in the hearing.
Just, you may tell me to ask, Andrew this too, but, it says that it falls under our poverty reduction strategy, for under urgent housing needs of shelterless people. That this will address that. Is there any plans to be housing any unsheltered people at this property?
I don't have any specific target groups like that. No, it's a mixed use building. It is what it is. Yeah.
Okay, and the rent rates are just the same guidelines. You're not getting any kind of like rent guarantee income for the rental rates or anything that really makes it truly affordable. This is just basic market rental rates, right?
Well, the project is the top 2 floors. Those suites would classify as affordable under CMHC programs.
Okay.
Just because of the size and the location where the rent. I mean, the funny thing about the CMHC guidelines for affordable is that they have one rate for all of Winnipeg.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So if I build a project in the West End or I build a project in Tuxedo, affordable is the same number. So what happens is that when I build a project, and I build projects all over Winnipeg, when I build a project in the West End, and I have one just up the street on Sherbrooke right now, and there's 14 units in that one. Mm-hmm. And all the units actually qualify as affordable under CMHC. But I'm a for-profit guy. I'm not a charity. It's just that's the way the rents work out. And so it's kind of a funny thing because of how CMHC works that word affordable and what they deem it to mean.
Fair enough. I just wanted to ask because it was in the document.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it. Yeah. No, that's all. Yeah.
Just in terms of, and I know, I did really like the landscaping on the outside of the building, adding some shrubberies and stuff. And I know that the West End does try to light up, and they're always looking for people to have some electricity on the outside of their building.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Just a little keynote for you, if that's possible, to light up the shrubs and stuff and light things up. So
yeah, love it.
Okay.
Okay. I see no further questions. We will return to you for rebuttal. We'll move on.
Very good. Thank you.
So next in support of the application is Todd McKay, who is also joining us via Zoom. Todd, we've asked you to start your video, and you can just unmute yourself there.
Am I off? Can you hear me now?
You are. Go ahead. You're with committee.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Good. My only comment really was just to support Danny, his vision, and in just the insight that he brings to the community. The days that I both put up signage and brought down signage, there was interest. I had different people stop, speak to me. They thought it was a nice change. Everybody was welcome to it, and yeah, that's really my biggest piece of what I wanted to say is just I'm definitely in support of Danny and his vision.
Okay, anything further? You have a full 10 minutes if you want it.
I do, but no, I don't believe I need to fill it any longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks very much for spending some time with the committee.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will move on. So there's no one else registered in support of this application, just confirming no one else in the gallery wishes to speak in support. Okay, there's no one registered in opposition, confirming no one in the gallery is looking to speak in opposition. Okay, and so we do have someone registered for information. Daryl Knapp is with us today in person. Hi, Daryl. You can just have a seat there.
Good morning. You have 10 minutes with committee.
Good morning. My name is Daryl Knapp. Idris. I'm the executive director at the Winnipeg Central Mosque, and we would be the neighbor to the west of this development. The board at the mosque and the people in the neighborhood. I'm also, I've lived in the neighborhood for quite a while, and have been part of the community. And when we see the development of something like this, it's very ambitious. We have a lot of questions. Like you said, this is a strange creature of a hotel with no staff on site, digital, the problems that we have in the West End. When we have had with Airbnbs and people, I don't see that there is a address to, unhoused people, or we have such a loss in housing in our community, low income and affordable. I don't really see that a hotel is covering that. I just came here for information and to share some thoughts and concerns. So some of the questions were raised about just the clarity of the main purpose of this. So we do see that it's for profit. There's no timeline on what is it a hotel or is it temporary housing? We do need transitional housing. We do need temporary housing within our community, within just the Muslim community. We are probably one of the most busiest parts of the West End community. 5 times a day we're there for prayer. We fill the building, and our parking lot is going to be used by people who are staying at the hotel, as it is used, throughout the neighborhood. And we need this parking lot that's right there to the west of that access. So I foresee that this will affect us. Our community is growing. The numbers who are in and out in the neighborhood, we see that there's like a lack of resources, green space, and other things that would benefit the community. Besides these things, I want to just go through some of the concerns that the board had put together. They're concerned about the structure, its use, how it will affect the parking, the community, people in and out without staff on board. What kind of retail spaces we've seen? Hotels like on Main Street. Is it going to have what kind of shop? A beer shop, another cannabis shop? What kind of retail, or what is this use? Is it going to really benefit our community? Is it what's going to go on? It's good to have development. So anything in our neighborhood it's good to see something developed, as opposed to all of the burned out houses, all of the derelict buildings, all of the shuttered spaces. I don't think that this is really, it's like Mr. Sorhal had said, this is a for-profit endeavor. It's a new concept of hotel. It's something new for all of us. we don't know how it's gonna affect our plans to grow. Like the mosque, you know, we're losing space in future, we might even develop our parking lot to something that would serve our community in a purpose-built building and space. So those are some of the things. I know that it didn't address the Right to Housing Coalition's identification for the need to build, 1,000 new units of social housing per year over a decade. That's what we really need in this city. This isn't a part of that project, and I don't think as a hotel, you know, it's just going to be people in and out, in and out. So I think that's answered our questions there. Are there going to be resources, or like a resource center or anything contributing for the community? You know, I guess this isn't going to be addressing any of that. It's just going to be a 6-story tower. I don't think that, you know, Mr. Sahel, if he wants to go 8 stories, 9 stories, it's sort of like right in the middle of like a, you know, like a neighborhood right there. How is this going to affect, you know, the garbage, the sewage, the people, there's kids that go back and forth from schools, you know, just 2 blocks away. So there's a lot of things that we have taken into consideration of what is this thing going to be? And I don't think that we really got very, very clear answers today. So I'm looking forward to see, do you guys think about this? So I'm happy with some of the questions that were asked, that were raised and brought up. And, you know, that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys. Thank you.
Are you willing to take questions?
I can take questions.
Excellent. Okay, I think Councillor Gilroy has a question.
Yeah. Councilor Gilroy, how are you doing?
Are you aware? I'll be able to go back and ask questions.
Yes.
That maybe he missed, so that you can have a chance to hear them.
Yes, we'll keep in touch, please.
Yeah, for sure, because I can understand your concern. You're right
Right.
beside it, I can understand your concern. So I will ask some of those questions. I don't know if he'll have all the answers for us, but in terms of the development yourself, are you happy to see that spot? Because it has been kind of a blight on the neighborhood.
You know, there's a spot across the street from the Calzone place.
Mhm.
There's a spot, and I can just sit there and name all of the spots that are empty in the West End. And, you know, by the end of this week, we more than likely will have another empty spot in the West End. It's just how things are.
Yeah.
I remember the day
You
when
live down the street, don't you?
I live on Agnes, just down
Yeah,
the street.
yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, I do know that we need to replace a lot of the housing. We need housing for families, you know, to bring the families back into the West End, you know, something that will establish our community a lot more, and not in this transitory nature of, you know, a commercial mixed space like this. I would love to see affordable housing. I would love to see places that are, you know, 2 and 3 bedrooms even, that can house families. Those have disappeared, and it's so hard to find places to rent or to live in our neighborhood now. So yeah, those are some of the things that, you know, we just need to have a little bit more clarity of how this is gonna run and operate off an app on the phone. You know, if there's problems in the hotel with the 36 units, you know, I've been in hotels, they can get loud. Is there going to be enough parking? Is there going to be enough? Yes, it's nice to have shrubs in the front. That's beautiful. But we also lack a lot of green space in the West End. We don't have trees. We don't have shade. Was there anybody from like the Aboriginal community? I mean, the land is still, you know, when you're developing land, I do believe that we do have a responsibility, you know, to bring on board people from all communities and people who have a connection to this also. Was there a consultation with them, or how, you know, how they see the use of the space? So yeah, please.
Just out of curiosity, did they come and talk to you? Cause I know.
No.
the neighbor and talk-
We didn't have anyone talk to us. The sign went up just a few weeks ago,
Okay.
I believe, and then, you know, it's like, we'll go and read this and you see this big building and it's, you know, from edge to edge in that whole lot. So yeah, it was very vague as far as the notice that was there. So, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here is because of it was questions about, you know, what's going on, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, it's like, it's our duty and responsibility and the people in the neighborhood to be good neighbors, and we want to see good neighbors, and we want to see our community grow and flourish. Just as our community, our faith community, has grown and flourished, I see the need for places for people of our community and every community to afford to come into a neighborhood that they actually care and love. I know that the mosque there on Ellis in Toronto is actually bringing a lot of people to come to live in the West End. If you see, you know, newcomers, asylum seekers, families that are coming because they can afford the West End. It's close to their spiritual center. It's you know, it's actually alive. It is. We do have derelict properties here, but if you're in the West End of Winnipeg, it's got a soul to it. It has beautiful shops. A lot of the boutiques. You go up and down Sargent, and you know, that's our neighborhood. And
Beautiful.
it's
Sums it up really
yeah,
well.
it's something to see a vague project with the vague explanations of what is this, how is it going to work. It seems like we're being experimented on a bit. I'm all for housing and I'm all for development. I love to see that, you know, because we haven't seen enough. So yeah, thank you. Counselor?
Mr. Knapp, I just, I didn't stop you because generally I think your message was one of love and concern for the neighborhood. But when you say actually care and love, it does impugn a bit the motives of the Mr. Sarhal. But I will take it that you were speaking generally. And is there a question that if answered would eliminate the vagueness in your mind? I appreciate a business model that uses an app, novel in particular, hotel. But fundamentally, for instance, you know, a gym might use an app to gain, or a nail salon might use an app, or a hair salon might use an app.
I do see that
Hair salons can get rowdy. You know, is there something that would give you comfort? I mean, you've spoken a lot about, you know, your ambitions, for instance. In some respects, at a hearing like this over an application, your need to grow isn't at issue today. It's something that we have many other meetings about, if you'd like.
This is the issue, yeah.
Including with your city councillor, who's no doubt open to that. But
Maybe
at
talking
issue
about
is this project on vacant land. And so is there something, you know, you spoke about a lot of broad concerns,
Right,
some of which are your ambitions for the whole city, I might imagine.
of course.
You know, you're seeing a hotel next to a mosque that you describe as growing might have positive potential.
Absolutely. And that's
So
what
I
we-
was wondering if you could respond to that, like visitors, you know, that family members from the
Mhm.
community. Could you respond, you know, to that? If you would, if in the main, is there something that would, if answered, eliminate the concerns over?
With the use of apps, that makes it sometimes inaccessible to people who can't navigate the technologies, and some people who would need temporary shelter, a place to stay. This is one of the concerns with apps, is that some people who need, you know, to find a hotel. Yes, you know, I've always looked at the positive of this. You know, it would bring people from our community to stay in the hotel, to be next to the mosque. you know, and feel that connectivity. Yes, but, yeah, like I said, it's a, you know, when you look at the mixed use of like commercial, what is the commercial? You look at the hotel and then residence on the top, all of these things are kind of, yeah, like understandably vague because I'm here for gathering information, for, you know, hearing to the council and the developer of, hey, what's going on?
Yes,
Yeah.
your information that is noted for the record.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. I don't know if there's any further questions, but appreciate your time coming down to committee again.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And just confirming that there's no one else in the gallery wishing to speak with respect to the application? Okay. There are questions for the public service?
Question for the public service.
You want me to get you started?
Yes.
I have two.
Yes.
Okay, so with respect to the conditional use, you know, I have a policy bone to pick generally with conditional uses. Sometimes I feel that they are unfair. Can you respond to that part of the conversation when I was talking to Mr. Serhal? There are some components of this that felt like inherently contradictory to me when I was reading it. And that piece did. You know, it's a vacant piece of land, yet we've got a conditional use on it. If I was wearing my other hat that I vacated just a week ago, I would say let's identify all these barriers to development in the West End. Because if I'm Councillor Gilroy, did I just encounter a barrier that is more costly than this development that is sorely needed in the West End? So I was hoping you could respond to the conditional use. I found that a surprising read.
Sure, Councillor, in committee, so the possibly kind of bit that can be a little bit confusing is that hotel use is a permitted use, as was mentioned earlier in the CM district, which is the district at play here. However, this property also falls in the neighborhood Main Street PDO, and that PDO makes hotel conditional. So why that is, I'm not entirely sure. Usually, conditional uses are there to provide the department opportunity to review for the suitability of that particular use in that location. Maybe it's a neighborhood Main Streets, the property's a little bit small, it's very close to residential, it's the scale of things has to be looked at a little bit more. And I can only guess that's why it was originally put in as a conditional use hotel in neighborhood Main Streets PDO. Having said that, this one is a fairly, as hotels go, it's not a large scale hotel, 36 rooms. So we do think that, you know, with everything taken together, that it's a supportable use in this location.
Just in terms of the parking though, I can see for residents, I can kind of see, you know, that the parking minimum is fine, but with a hotel use and just the location of it, just questioning, you know, that aspect of parking in the hotel. Because that is a concern. There's a major parking lot right beside the mosque, and I'll probably raise this again to the applicant, but just in terms of, you know, it was raised, it's a concern. Thoughts?
What we look at as a division is the parking as it relates to the zoning bylaw. So there are the three uses in the building. What the applicant is doing for the residential suites is including a car share vehicle, which will help offset residential parking and also potentially open up more of those stalls for the hotel use. The car share vehicle can be used by anyone in the neighborhood as well. And with that, they meet our requirements in terms of the minimum ratios we would support for parking.
And maybe just so other people that maybe aren't familiar with the car share, it's people from the community can use the car share even though it's at that location. People can just register and use the car share.
That's correct.
Yeah. And then I think there was concerns over the garbage. Can you talk about garbage? Sorry, I know I have a mouth. Garbage. Sorry. Did you hear me?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So the garbage is access off the public lane towards the back, so it'll be out of view from Ellis Avenue or Victor. And it's composed of two auto bins, you know, one garbage, one recycling. So there is a plan for garbage that's
I think
organized.
I read in here that you were wanting more bins, but you're okay with the few. I think I read in here someplace, I don't have it right now, but I did read in here that were you asking for more garbage containers and you're getting fewer?
Asking for more garbage containers. What was the last part?
And are you getting fewer? So she.
I thought I read it, but I might be wrong, so.
Maybe comment generally on the garbage. Is the public service of the view that it's sufficient or
Yeah.
The
was
garbage
more
is sufficient.
needed?
No, it's been reviewed by the solid waste division
Okay,
of water and waste, and there's no issue with the garbage.
okay.
I have one more question if I
Yeah,
can
go
buy
ahead.
you some time here.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the conditional use, can you give me an idea of how much then the applicant had to pay? Once we discovered that it was a curiosity, it's in a neighborhood, Main Street PDO. You give me a bit of an order and then I have one more question after that.
Sure, Counselor, just give me 1 second here.
And to fill in time, the reason why I'm asking is that I find it, you know, given that we have a Bridgewater similar model, maybe, you know, a few differences, you know, it does open up a bit of a picture on the relative difference to develop on Ellis versus in Bridgewater, and the costs associated with each. Not for the hearing today, but if I'm, you know, an active member of City Center, I'm interested in how much, you know, more it would cost in this vacant land. Yeah.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, it's something our division doesn't deal with directly, the cost of fees for zoning applications. However, looking at the fees schedule, it looks like for a commercial conditional use application, it looks like it'd be $3,180.
$3,180, not
That's
in,
my best understanding.
yeah, not accounting for necessarily the time it took to, you know, the labor and stuff on their side.
That's,
Okay.
that's correct.
Final question for you. With respect to the times that the report comments on poverty reduction strategy, shelterless individuals, can you tell me what you meant by that? Given Mr. Serhal's, you know, discussion, you know, I'm not asking the question because I necessarily think it's up to any given applicant to meet every single housing need in the city, right? I want to be clear about that. That is, you know, it's not a one size fits all kind of job, the development of property, land use, et cetera. What I'm asking about is, you know, the public service articulated it for reasons. It clearly saw something perhaps that Mr. Serhal, the applicant, did not. And so I was hoping you'd comment.
Sure. The applicant did indicate to the division that their intention is that all of the multifamily units in the building will be affordable units. So that's why that is mentioned in the poverty reduction strategy alignment section. However, the reason it's not explicitly outlined as kind of the defining factor of our support for the development is that it's not required in this case. They don't need the low parking reduction for affordable units because they're doing other measures to meet our parking, and they're not looking for the density bonus for affordable housing program because they're not going over a certain density. So from our perspective, it's not required, but it's a very well supported and welcome thing. That's why we didn't go into it in depth though in the report. It's not required.
Okay, that was all my questions, Counselor Gilroy, if you have further questions.
No, that's all my questions.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, we'll move on. We'll bring the applicant back in. Okay. Mr. Sir Hall, you're back with committee. You've heard our conversation. You've heard Mr. Knapp that was here for information. You have 10 minutes with committee to rebut what you've heard, if you would like.
Sure. My compliments to Mr. Knapp for pronouncing my last name correctly. That was good. That was cool. Certainly I understand his concerns about, you know, what kind of businesses are going to go on the main floor and so on. I can't really, I'm not interested in having a cannabis shop or an adult video store or, you know, any of those sort of, you know, more toxic uses to the community. But, you know, we're talking about a building that will be occupied 2 to 3 years from now. Like, I can't really speak to what those uses are. Certainly would make me much happier if they were uses that were complementary to both that particular neighborhood and the building above. As far as his concerns about, you know, parking on their parking lot, I mean, we're providing what we think is the minimum number of parking stalls on our own property. We don't want people parking illegally anywhere, whether it's our neighbor to the west or anywhere else. This site, you know, we've picked this site to do what we're doing there because it is exceptionally well serviced by transit. It has, you know, amenities, lots of amenities nearby. Like, people really don't need a car when they live here. We are providing a car share vehicle with our project, and I believe there are 3 other car share vehicles within 400 or 500 meters, like within a 5-minute walk. So, you know, again, it's well serviced in that regard as well. So I don't think that the parking is an issue. I mean, Andrew has already commented that we've addressed the refuse issue to the satisfaction of Water and Waste. And I think that was, you know, as far as who's going there, again, you know, I just want to emphasize that, you know, this is kind of, we're talking about something that's happening 3 years from now, and we're trying to keep it as open as possible. But inevitably, these projects, they service the people that are in the neighborhood that need a different living arrangement for some reason.
Just out of curiosity, why didn't you maybe reach out to the mosque?
You know, I was kicking myself for that. I know I should have, and I apologize. I should have done that. Until recently, I didn't realize that the parking lot next to me did actually belong to the mosque, which is the next block.
Would you mind still connecting with them? Because I think there could be some synergies with
that'd be great.
And the parking, like maybe there's something that maybe the mosque, you know, just to know who the owners are, I think, of the land, I think that's helpful.
Yeah, happy to.
Mind doing that. Okay, I think that my questions, garbage, I think you responded to all the questions that he was raising, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There was nothing further. We'll move on. Okay.
So first, I gotta get my glasses on. I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor, that was carried unanimously.
That the receipt of public representations be concluded.
That too was carried unanimously.
That the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and be forwarded to the,
Policy committee. There's one in opposition.
Okay, and Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development. And my supporting reasons for this project is I really do think we need development along there. We're starting to see a lot of vacant properties. I'm very concerned about that. We do need to bring some new energy into this community. I would have liked to have seen, of course, all residential units. But however, when we do, people buy these properties and they can make some decisions on their own on what that's gonna look like. We'll have to monitor it. It's an interesting concept. The hotel, and maybe there could be some synergies with the community with this kind of hotel right in the heart of our community, close to our University of Winnipeg and our downtown, and really right in the heart of kind of the West End. It's a very walkable community, and I think that there could be a lot of rejuvenation from this project. I do have concerns about the hotel itself not really I've had issues with Airbnbs in the area, and so I will be kind of monitoring this and working with my community stakeholders and neighbors to really ensure that this project kind of is what the community needs once it's done. But I do think that at the end of the day, we need some development, and overall, this is a good project and we should be moving forward with it. And really want to encourage Daryl to really reach out to the mosque. They by far are the heart of the community, and probably would really love to be active with you and some of the discussions moving forward. And that's it.
Thank you very much. I'll call the questions and then state for the record, I support the motion for the reasons stated and many of the reasons in the public service report. And so that was also moved by Councillor Gilroy, and that was unanimous.
And I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
That was carried unanimously.
And the receipt of public representation be concluded.
And
Sorry, I think it's so it's just the conclusion of the hearing for the subdivision rezoning.
Would you like to just read that out to me, Nora?
Oh, sure. It's just the public hearing.
I conclude that the public hearing with
The public hearing with respect to the application be
concluded.
Okay.
And that was carried with thanks to all those that came to the hearing.
Okay, please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted on the rezoning, and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
My cold is not doing well today. Okay, I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
That was carried unanimously.
In accordance with subsection 254 and subsection 227, the City of Winnipeg Charter is charter. The conditional use is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan. It does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated by the property by a street or waterway, and is compatible with the area which the property to be affected is situated. And my supporting reasons are the same as before.
Okay, that was carried unanimously.
That the recommendations of the public service be concurred in and conditional use be approved.
That was carried unanimously.
And that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
And that was carried unanimously.
Please note that the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
Right.
Okay, we'll move to adjourn.
There's the
The variance also.
Do you want me to do it and save your voice? No, did you?
Sure.
Okay, so if Councillor Gilroy will take the chair,
Okay.
and if she assumes the chair, I will move the variance. We're a collaborative committee. I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read. I move that the receipt, call the question.
Okay, carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations with thanks be concluded.
Those carried unanimously.
And I move that in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg, and the applicable secondary plan does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by street or waterway, is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property, and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. The supporting reasons, I would echo what is in the public services report pertaining to the variance, and the local councillor, Councillor Roy's reasons for supporting the combined hearing. So moved.
Those carry unanimously.
I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in, the variance be approved.
And that was supported unanimously.
And finally, I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded with thanks to all parties.
It's carried unanimously.
Please note that the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
I will ask Councillor Gilroy with a nod of the head if we could adjourn the hearing for today. This was the February meeting of City Center Community Committee. Thanks everybody for joining us on the second meeting of the year. And we're thinking of Councillor Orlico, obviously. That's all for this month.